I'm Ken Scott, the Head of Inspectorate for the Sports Ground Safety Authority in the UK. Our responsibility is to ensure the highest levels of safety at sports grounds within the UK, and we do that through a series of licenses which we issue to all of the 93 clubs within the Football Premier League and the English Football League. I head up a team of inspectors that look after all of the clubs within the Premier League and the English Football League in the UK. We also do lots of advisory work where we work with different governments, with football governing bodies around the world. But we also have a very important role that we develop guidance. And perhaps the most well known of that guidance is the Guide to Safety at Sports Grounds, affectionately known as the Green Guide, which is used on all continents around the world. I believe that there is a common language that we all speak, whichever nation that we work from. Safety management and the design and management of sports grounds is universal. So we live in a global village, and it's important that if any of us have lessons of good practice, but just as importantly, elements of our work that we've done that perhaps hasn't gone quite so well, that through the facilities of the good body of ESSMA, we can share those and meet up with people and share those experiences with like-minded people. It's very difficult to focus on one thing because there are many things, as you highlight, that we need to address as we emerge from the effects of COVID. And in many ways, lots of the problems that we're facilitating and seeing now are a direct result of people who have been locked down for 2 years and are emerging with different habits and different behaviours. I think what we've got to recognise is, though, that that this isn't a football-only illness that's affecting our various different countries. It's a societal problem, and I think that we need to keep things in perspective. But certainly, we need to ensure that whatever the causes of these elements of bad behaviour, that we do seek to address those problems, and we do hope to ensure that the highest levels of safety are within our sports grounds, because we want to ensure that people can come to sports grounds of all different demographic, but they can do it with the confidence that they aren't going to be involved in any form of antisocial behaviour. In the UK, there is a huge problem with the supply of stewards, and to effectively run a safe management of a sporting venue, then clearly we are heavily reliant upon those individuals that come along every week to offer their services to ensure that all of us who enjoy watching football can do it with the highest levels of safety. But that opens up a whole range of issues around why people are now moving away from the role of stewarding. I'll be talking about that at this afternoon's events, but primarily it's I think in the last 2 years where we've been diverted through COVID, many people have found other things to do with their time. They've found other parts of the economy that perhaps pay better wages, and other parts of the economy where they're doing a job that perhaps isn't as challenging as the role of a steward. So I think that we are currently engaged in two pieces of research in the UK. First of all, to see what the diversions are that are stopping people from returning to football. The second piece of research, I think, is the important one, and that's to look to see what we can do to enhance their enjoyment, to encourage them to come back. And it will range across a whole series of different things. And it may well involve, the payment of more money to reflect the huge importance of the role that they carry out on the day of a match. I was involved in working with UEFA a few years ago now with the Zero Pyro policy. And I think it's important that that message comes across strongly. I think the difficulty now is that the ability for people to buy these things, it's very, very easy to purchase these things online. Sadly, many of the pyrotechnic devices that are being developed in other countries don't meet with the necessary standards for which they were designed. So when people are buying and igniting these things in a closed environment, they aren't quite sure that they're going to perform in the way that they should do. And often we see people who suffer severe injury through the use and the handling of pyrotechnics. But it also creates an environment where people with, maybe people who have breathing difficulties, are suffering as a direct consequence of it. I think What we need to do, though, it's very much about a program of education and persuasion of fans to outline to them the consequences of their action, because I believe sincerely that in many cases the fans who are bringing pyrotechnics to sports grounds aren't fully aware of the consequences of those actions. And I think that we need to have an objective to work with sports fan groups, to work with them, to encourage them to understand the impact that their actions, or the fans who are using pyrotechnics, have on the good behaviour of the fans. And we do need an element of self-policing amongst fans too. So I'd be very keen to see fans to point out the people who are perpetrating the use of pyrotechnics. And I think another thing of mine is I very much believe that, you know, the move at the minute is to get the pyrotechnic from the pitch as quickly as possible so that play can continue. I think that if we were to introduce a jeopardy, in other words, let the pyrotechnic burn out as it should do, delay the process of the pitch on the pitch, then the impact on the fans would be more relevant, because they would then begin to see the consequence of their action, because it's suspended play for 10 or 15 minutes while the pyrotechnic is safely diffused and taken away for examination. So I think there are many ways we can do it, but I do worry about the increasing use and the ease at which people can get hold of pyrotechnic devices.